Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Hogan's Alley. In this segment, we are going to delve even deeper into understanding the movement of the shoulders in the swing. And what I mean by in the swing, mainly on the backswing. How do we know that we are moving the shoulders correctly and thereby giving the arms and hands the proper way to go? So, first off, what we're going to do is we're going to see what Hogan has to say about beginning the swing. What about the shoulders? What about the arms? What about the hands? Because I feel it's real important in what he says and then what developed from 1955 that he told John. So let's go see what he says first. So, in looking at Hogan's book, at the first part of the swing, lesson 3 on page 69, down at the bottom, he goes into what starts the swing. And he says, on the backswing, the order of movement goes like this: hands, arms, shoulders, then the hips. On the downswing, the order is just reversed: hips, shoulders, arms, hands. But let's go a little further and say on the backswing, the hands, arms, and shoulders start to move almost simultaneously. Going over to page 70, we then see that he says actually the hands start the club head back a split second before the arms start back, and the arms begin their movement a split second before the shoulders begin to turn. As a golfer acquires feel and rhythm through practice, the hands, arms, and shoulders will instinctively tie in on this split-second schedule. The main point for the novice is to know that they do not start back so close. The main point for the novice is to know that they do start back so closely together that their action is uniform. So what Hogan was saying is that when you get all set up, when you're completely set up and you've done your waggle or your pre-shot routine, the start of the backswing is done with the hands, the arms, and the shoulders. Now, you have to think about this a little bit more closely because of the way Hogan had it worded. He said that it's a split second. A split second, the hands start back before the arms and the shoulders. Mainly because we're connected to the golf club with the hands. We have to do something to get the club moving. In the old days, what they used to do is they used to have very whippy shafts and very whippy wrists, and they would actually leave the club head on the ground, and the shoulders would start the swing back first, and then allow the club to catch up at the top of the backswing. Now, why am I saying this? I'm saying this because the emphasis is on the shoulder turn. The emphasis is that the shoulders do the movement on the backswing. And why I'm saying that is because he went further to discuss with John that the shoulders will move the arms and hands on the way back, okay? But you can also move the hands without moving the shoulders. There's a lot of people out there that think that if they start the swing with the hands and the arms, the shoulders will follow. And what happens is they lift the club up and they don't get a shoulder turn. This is the top of their backswing. They have it, what they think is parallel. And if you look at my shoulders, there's very little shoulder turn. So what you want to think of is you want to think of the shoulders being the action in the swing. Remember, Hogan told John that there are two actions on the backswing. Cocking the wrist, that's what the hands do, cock up and cock back as far as a wrist cock goes, not necessarily a back cock. But the wrist cock is done with the hands, and the movement of the swing, the backswing, is done with shoulder rotation. So, it's very important that you understand that the shoulders rotate, the arms and hands will follow. As the arms and hands are following, then you're starting the wrist cock, and you're also starting Hogan twist. Okay? You're twisting the hands as you're going back. Now, as you can see in Five Fundamentals, he talks about the hand starting a split second before. That got a lot of people in trouble, okay? And he told John that he meant it to be more of a unified movement, but he had to explain it that the hands will start lifting the club up and going back immediately first, okay? So let's take another look at what John has to say about the shoulder turn, and then compare it, and we'll get deeper involved in what we can do to help you identify the feeling of the shoulder turn. When we look at what John has to say about the shoulder turns, we go to page 64 and 65. And right here in Rule 2, he explains, let your turning shoulders move your arms. As the wrists cock, your right shoulder starts to turn behind your head, and your left shoulder starts to turn under your chin. The feeling of the left shoulder under the chin gives you the extension of the left arm to the maximum arc. The feeling of the right shoulder turning behind the head allows maximum loading of your right arm. Let the turning shoulders move the arms. He goes on to say, this is so important. When the arms act independently of the shoulders, which we were showing you before, if they just move up and down, you have no shoulder turn. When they are not powered by the shoulders, you will have a hands and arm swing which is so far short of the desired objective. Your body feels like the trunk of an old oak tree, and your arms are two big limbs. The only way to move these limbs is to turn the trunk. So remember, when you're thinking about practicing the shoulder turn, think of it in terms of rotation around that oak tree, that trunk, the limbs turning around that big oak tree. So that when you're doing that feeling of a turn, it's an around feeling. It's not an up feeling. Too many times in the 70s and even the early 80s, many students tried the swing, the Jack Nicklaus swing, where you turn back and then you lift up. Tom Watson still has that type of a swing. Is it productive? It's hard to master, to be consistent. What you need to think of is the rotation as a turn and only a turn, not a two-part swing. As far as around and up, you just want to feel of it as around and around. It makes it simpler. It makes it so much easier to get consistent contact on the ball. But what I want to get into is, how do you get that feeling? What do you do? Well, number one, when you're getting set up, you have to get that connection. You have to feel that the arms are that better connection, so that when you turn the shoulders, the arms and hands follow. Okay? Even John stated in his book that as the shoulders are starting to turn, the hands are starting to cock. Okay? So it's still that simultaneous action. But remember, the movement of the hands, even though the movement of the hands may be a split second before the shoulders, it has nothing to do with the rotation going back. It has to do just with the cocking of the wrists. So remember, the only way the rotation on the way back in your backswing is for the shoulders to turn. Okay? So practice that. Practice the feeling of thinking about the left shoulder going back underneath the chin and the right shoulder going behind the head. If you get that feeling, you're doing it correctly. Now, also, what I want you to do is not only think of that in terms of rotation, but on the way back, looking at yourself in the mirror from the side, make sure that you see only a rotation. Make sure you see that you're rotating back. Watch where the left arm is in relation to the shoulders. The left arm should go across the shoulders. The left arm does not go above the shoulders. Even though you have that right elbow pointing to the ground, if you lift up, you've destroyed that turning sensation that you've wanted to achieve on the way back. So, what you need to do is you need to get this feeling consistently over and over and over again. And one of my students said to me, he says, okay, when I take the club back, what does it feel like? Does it feel like my hands are going straight back? Or does it feel like it's going in a circular motion? You want more of that circular motion. Anytime the hands feel like they're going back independently, or I should say anytime the hands going back straight, it's more of an independent move than the shoulders moving them. So, shoulders move the arms and hands. Shoulders move the arms and hands. If that happens, it will be a semicircle inward. It will be non-manipulated. You will take the club back, and it'll feel like it's going on the inside. Okay? Because remember, once the lower body starts to swing and you go through, you're then going to have another semicircle on the finish. But that's another part of the swing. Today I just wanted to make sure that you understand that that's a rotation, that the shoulders are an action. It is the swing. It is an action of the swing. Okay? So, take that, use that, make a mental picture of it, practice the feeling over and over again, and use that in conjunction with the rest of the swing, and you'll find that you'll be more consistent going back and going through the hitting area. All right? So, I will see you next time on Hogan's Alley. Hope this helps you with your shoulder turn and the understanding of it.